I want to talk to you today about staying positive toward yourself. The most important relationship you have is the relationship with yourself. Too many people don't like who they are. They focus on their faults and weaknesses. They relive their mistakes and failures. They wish they were different. If they were taller, had a better personality, looked like their cousin. Instead of accepting themselves as a masterpiece, they're critical toward themselves. And they wonder why they're not happy, why they don't have good relationships. It's because they don't like themselves. If you don't get along with you, you're not going to get along with other people. The best thing you can do for your family, for your friends, is be good to you. Be kind to you. Be merciful to you. Be forgiving to you. Be loving to you. You're good to others. Why aren't you good to you? You don't criticize your friend. Why are you criticizing you? You compliment your coworker. When's the last time you complimented yourself? You admire their talent. Why don't you admire your talent? Start being good to you. That's not being selfish. That's not arrogant. That's loving yourself. Too many people go through life against themselves, feeling wrong on the inside. I heard someone say, I discovered the enemy, it was me. Are you your enemy? Are you defeating yourself, limiting your dreams, sabotaging your relationships, all because you don't like you? You have enough people and circumstances against you. Don't be against yourself. When you wake up in the morning, don't lie in bed and think of everything wrong with you. What you don't like about your looks. Relive your mistakes. Why didn't I finish college? I should be more disciplined. I lost my temper yesterday. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with you, start focusing on what's right with you. You may have weaknesses. You've made mistakes. We all have. But there's a lot more right with you than there is wrong with you. Dwelling on the negative doesn't help you to do better. Beating yourself up for past mistakes doesn't move you forward. The better you feel about yourself, the better you'll do. The more you like yourself, the further you'll go. You can't give away what you don't have. If you're in turmoil on the inside, mad at yourself, critical, condemned, that's what you have to give. If you're hard on yourself, you'll be hard on others. If you don't forgive yourself, you won't forgive others. If you don't get along with you, how can you get along with your family? The best thing you can do is start being for you. When you love yourself, then you can love others. When you're kind to yourself, then you can be kind to others. It starts with you. Well, Joel, I have all these faults, these weaknesses. Once I overcome, once I learn to control my temper, be more disciplined, quit saying things that I shouldn't, then I won't be down on myself. If you're waiting to perform perfectly before you feel good about who you are, you'll be waiting your whole life. You have to accept yourself while you're in the process of changing.
You have to own your own happiness. Take it away from other people demanding that they make you happy. Your kids are not going to make you happy. Your spouse is not going to make you happy. A big house is not going to make you happy. Own your own happiness and be responsible for doing those things that bring joy into your own heart, independently of life and people and money and all of that stuff. Right. It doesn't necessarily give you a happiness. You have to take responsibility of that peace and that joy that lives inside of your heart and not inside of your stuff. The second thing that I think people need to do is challenge their own story, because people torment themselves by how they see their life. They've told themselves a story as if it were the truth when it is really a perspective truth. And sometimes you've narrated a story that you beat yourself to death with. Challenge your own story. Change the way you talk to yourself about who you are and what happened to you and what you're going to do in your life. You wrote the script. Change the story. The third thing that I think is very important is to enjoy the journey, not the destination. A lot of us delay our happiness. When I get to this level, when I get my degree, when I get the kids, when I get married, I'm going to be happy. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the whole step, the whole process. Every day that you get up to strive for whatever it is you're after. You don't celebrate when you get to the finish line. Celebrate all along the way. The other point is make relationships count. Making your relationships count, because everything is about relationships. First of all, your relationship with God. That's a very important thing to have, because as long as you know that there's somebody in charge, you don't have to bear the brunt of the responsibility and the weight of what's going on in your life. Yeah. You can talk to the boss. Okay. Yeah. Number two, enjoy your relationship with yourself. If you don't like you, it makes it hard for me to like you. Enjoy your relationship with yourself. And then anybody else who comes in, they enter into a party you already started. And then the relationship with your kids, the relationship with your spouse, the relationship with your friends, taking time to enjoy the relationships, because there is no fruit. Nature teaches us that there is no fruit without relationships. You cannot be fruitful by yourself in business, in home, in life, in church. I don't care what it is. You are no more than the relationships you surround yourself with, and make sure that those are good ones. The fifth thing that I really ascribe to is balance work with play. You can't do all of either one and be successful. And to those whom much is given, much is required. And if you work really hard and you're a really diligent person, make sure that you do some play to balance your life out. If you play real hard but you don't work very much, you're going to be fun, but you're going to be hungry.
You can protect yourself from negativity. And that's what stops most people, negative thoughts. You can coat your mind from negativity. It's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door. So I walk out as a positive person. You know, I get tired sometimes. That's different from being negative, because I get mentally drained from my job at times. But to coat your mind from negativity, the way you can put a coating around your mind is with one simple thing: gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. I'm going to show you how this works. If you wake up in the morning and you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tripping. I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel in the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop. Just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Not everything you want, everything you already have, because what you have is substantial. The fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go and turn the key and call someplace home, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you're beautiful, that's another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. And I'm just talking to you, I don't even know you. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It'll change everything for you.
Step number 1, decide to develop the habit right now. The habit of focusing on what's right in your world instead of what's wrong. The habit of focusing on what you do have instead of what you don't have in a situation. And as basic as that is, and as well as you know it, you gotta make it a habit. Because those habits form the chain of your ultimate character, of who you become and how you end up living your life. We've gotta condition ourselves, because if we don't, we'll go back to the automatic state that most people live in today's society. All you want to do is establish the habit of noticing what you do have instead of what you don't have. Noticing what's great about a situation versus what's not great. Focusing on solution instead of problems. That's what changes your life. Here's key number 2. Instead of judging yourself and others, decide, remember these are decisions, decide right now to become curious instead of judgmental. But remember, when you find fault in other people, when you start noticing constantly how they've wronged you, how this person is not good enough, or they're too egotistical, they're too proud, or they don't really care about people, as soon as you start judging other people, you just got to remember something. If you start judging other people, you can also start judging yourself intensely. If you're angry at other people, there's a very good chance you're angry at yourself as well. Maybe we need to perceive more and judge less. Maybe instead of finding fault with other people, without really thinking about what they've gone through to be where they are this day, maybe we can get really curious about what's making this person be in the state they're in, or what's the motivation behind this person's anger. Remember, we got to judge less, perceive more. We got to get curious. Instead of living in a society where we're so afraid to believe in anything or anyone that we believe in nothing at all, and we lose our power of positive thinking. We try to protect ourselves from things we maybe not even need to protect ourselves from. Free yourself from the disease of making others wrong, and you'll free yourself from the disease of making yourself wrong. you have a lot more energy to create solution instead of problems. It's part of the power of positive thinking instead of falling for the destructive power of negative thinking. Remember, get curious instead of judgmental. Here's key number 3. If you really want to develop the power of positive thinking as a habit, as a lifestyle, as a strategy for success, then decide right now to find something to appreciate from any seemingly negative person or situation and develop the habit of giving compliments. See, if you really want to have some more positive feelings in your life, you got to keep focusing on what's right. You got to get curious. And most importantly, you got to find something to appreciate even in the tough times. Because in reality, as we've talked about so often before, the toughest times in your life sometimes provide you with the real resources to change your life. So what we've got to do is find something to appreciate. Not someday when things work out. We got to appreciate where we are right now.
Choosing you and not being guilty about it. The pursuit of your own happiness is enough of a reason to make a major change. One of the primary things I learned is that relationships, they define us. When they're going great, we feel great. When they're in breakdown, we feel like nothing's going right. What I realize is that if I get on my own vibration for Lisa, and I understand what does it mean to accept me? What does it mean to own my light? What does it mean to be at peace with everything about me, my good, my bad, my happy, my sad, my right, my wrong, and everything in between? Like when I can love my light and love my darkness, when I settle in who I am and I could feel full in my esteem, when others have a tendency to, not accept me, it lands a little easier. I remember there was a time in my life when all I wanted was for people to accept me. But I realized that I needed them to accept me and love me because I wasn't really accepting Lisa. I wasn't really loving Lisa to my fullest.
I want you all to stay true to the most real, most sincere, most authentic parts of yourselves. I want you to ask those basic questions. Who do you want to be? What inspires you? How do you want to give back? And then I want you to take a deep breath and trust yourselves to chart your own course and make your mark on the world.
The number one thing you have to do is to work on yourself and to fill yourself up and keep your cup full. Keep yourself full. Now, I used to be afraid of that. I used to be afraid, particularly from people who say, oh, she's so full of herself. She's so full of herself. And now I embrace it. I consider it a compliment that I am full of myself. Because when you're full, I'm overflowing. My cup runneth over. I have so much to offer and so much to give. And I am not afraid of honoring myself. You know, it's miraculous when you think about it.
Trust yourselves to chart your own course and make your mark on the world. Maybe it feels like you're supposed to go to law school, but what you really want to do is teach little kids. Maybe your parents are expecting you to come back home after you graduate, but you're feeling a pull to travel the world. I want you to listen to those thoughts. I want you to act with both your mind, but also your heart. And no matter what path you choose, I want you to make sure it's you choosing it and not someone else.
If you fully love and show up for you first, then you're less impacted, you're less disrupted when someone doesn't embrace you the way you believe you should be embraced. See, I realize that we are iron for others. Iron sharpens iron. We're also triggers for others. There's 1,000 reasons why someone might reject you. My grandmother says, man's rejection is God's protection. So not everyone that's in your space should be in your space. And sometimes people have to opt out on your behalf to help you out. How many times have you been in a friendship or relationship and it ended? And maybe not immediately after it ended, But somewhere in the next 30, 60, 90 days, a year, maybe 2 years, you took a deep breath. I actually feel more relief that relationship has transitioned. Whether it's a relationship with a job, a friend, an ex, whatever. So while we don't want to have rejection in our life, I say all rejection isn't bad. And sometimes it's not rejection. It's simply transition. It's simply completion. You know, I realized that I wanted everyone to love me. But when I began to love Lisa, I stopped having to manage or having the desire to manage how other people like me. Your job is to wake up each day and like you. Now, when people reject you, there's something that they're triggered by. When people reject you, there's something in you that's occurring. So if you're finding that you're being rejected in different environments and you're the common denominator, rejection in some cases is feedback. If someone's giving you feedback, multiple people are giving you feedback in the way they're embracing you or letting you go, or in the way that they're sharing how you show up, listen to the feedback. One of the hardest things for me to do was to hear consistent feedback. Lisa, you're stubborn. Lisa, you're stubborn. Lisa, you're stubborn. I defended for years. I am not the average Taurus, the bull, though I'm a Taurus. I'm not stubborn. And then I kept getting the same feedback. And I realized you are stubborn. You can be rigid, because I kept getting that feedback. So if you find that you're getting the same feedback from multiple people and they're not corralling and you know, running a mutiny against you, they're really different environments, different people, then listen to the feedback. Because what I love about feedback, even though it stings, feedback is feeding your future possibility. I'll say that again. You might want to write that down. Feedback is feeding your future possibility. If you choose to take the feedback and embrace it and own it and allow it to elevate you and influence your future decisions, then it can help you to evolve. It can help you to continue to become the person you're evolving into. So rejection could be a form of feedback. And when you talk about being rejected, particularly by women, again, remember, we trigger each other. You know, I used to walk into a room and I could see the energy shifting, but I also walked into the room and I was looking for if the energy shifted. Now I walk into the room and I look for the person that's going to love and embrace me. I walk in a room, I own my light, I own my greatness, but I also own my humility. And I look for the light that's reflecting me. And I tap into and I'm drawn to that light. And anything else in the room that's not light, that's not love, it can coexist with me, but it doesn't get to influence me.
Choosing happiness for yourself is what truly allows you to begin bringing happiness to other people. So during the holiday season, we've already been conditioned to give and give and give and give and give and give and give to others. But it's important to make time for yourself too. That care is the gift you give to yourself. Being able to choose what's right for you and knowing when it is right.
Give yourself exactly what you need. You're not looking for other people to validate you. You're looking for other people to affirm, to stand in alignment with you, with what you know to be so, but you're not placing your stock and your self-value in the hands of your boss, your relationship, your children, your family. That you wake up each morning and you say, and I've said this before, I am enough. Today I'm pleased with who I am. Before you start the day, I always say that my job is to like Lisa first. Before anything that occurs today, my job is to like Lisa, to know that I'm going to bring the best version of me in every situation I can. To like me before anyone on Facebook likes me, and to know that I'm okay. What does it mean to be everything to you? That's not an arrogant statement. It's not a place of self-indulgence. It's to recognize that self-care is not selfish. It's to recognize that you can only serve others from a full cup, and that it's your job to fill yourself up. Fill yourself up with positive thinking. That's why you're here. Fill yourself up with new possibility. That's why you're here. Fill yourself up with new opportunities. Fill yourself up with having the best people on your planet. Loving yourself enough to remove unhealthy, toxic people out of your life.
Learn to play a role. Your future is not determined by your personality. In fact, your personality is not even determined by your personality. There is no genetic code in you that determines who you will be. You are the thinker who determines who you will be. How you act is who you become. Another way of seeing that might be contained in these related thoughts from Star Trek's Leonard Nimoy. Spock had a big effect on me. I am so much more Spock-like today than when I first played the part in 1965 that you wouldn't recognize me. I'm not talking about appearance, but thought process. Doing that character, I learned so much about rational, logical thought that I reshaped my life. You will gather energy and inspiration by being the character you want to play. I took an acting class a few years ago because I thought it would help me deal with my overwhelming stage fright. But I learned something much more valuable than how to relax in front of a crowd. I learned that my emotions were tools for me to use, not demonic forces. I learned that my emotions were mine to work with and change at will. Although I had read countless times to work own deliberate thoughts control our emotions. Yes, our own deliberate thoughts, and that the feelings we have are all caused by what we think. I never trusted that concept as real because it didn't always feel real. To me, it felt more like emotion was an all-powerful thing that could overcome my thinking, my process, and all.